Tyson once said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Well, in September of 2017, the universe threw a big giant punch in the mouth of Brian Boyle. Boyle had it all: a beautiful family, an 11-year career in the NHL, a brand new contract with a brand new team, and plenty of gas left in the tank. So just when everything was right in the world, he got some devastating news that could have changed everything. It's tough to point out just one thing that got Brian through it all. But I can tell you that his faith, his family, and his friends, well, they all played a big part, not only his recovery, but his return to the NHL. So sit down, relax, and get the popcorn popping, because tonight I'm with NHL veteran Brian Boyle. And tonight, it's Hockey Night in New England.
I hear him chatting the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution.
Hockey Night in New England is brought to you by Duncan. Where there's hockey, there's Duncan.
Well, I'm from Hingham. We're in Hingham now. I'm from Hingham. I was born here, and I'm the 7th of 13. So it's interesting to a lot of people. It's pretty normal for me. But
well, having 13 kids is something that's probably an overwhelming thought to most people. But you get one at a time, and each one required different parts of us and brought out certain things in us that we never even knew we had.
I got on the ice at 2, and I was in the instructional league, the organized league at 3. It was just something that I think it was in me.
When he was a baby, all of my children, if I wanted to take a shower, I'd put them in a high chair and I'd put a Disney movie on. And I'd think, okay, I have a Disney movie now, I can take a shower and they're safe. And with Brian, he didn't want to watch the Disney movies. We had to watch ESPN.
I would lose my mind if you put me in that high chair until you put on some form of sports. And usually on Nesson or something, we'd be watching the sports desk or the highlights from the night before or something, and I would just sit there and watch it on loop.
And I could hear him from the bathroom yelling, "Mom, he toot, he core, Mom." He's saying, "Oh my Lord, listen to this kid, he just loves this."
Brian came up one day from the basement with all the hockey equipment on his body. Garters, shin pads, the socks, the pants, at 3 years old, and said, "I want to play hockey." I said, "Oh, okay, maybe you should play hockey."
So we took him to skate, and I remember getting him, you know, the learn to skate skates were these little plastic skates, and Artie said, "Don't get him the learn to skate skates, get him a pair of regular skates." So we went down, we got him a pair of the hockey skates, and they had him in his size because he was so big.
So I put the skates on him, put him, you take him to the middle rink in Pilgrim, and you kind of expect him to go get the chair or the milk carton or whatever the heck it is that they used, and he just skated at 3 years old. You know, he had a little bit of a lazy right ankle, but I just taped that up a little bit, and he just skated, just started skating, and that was pretty much how it all started, and then he just fell in love with it.
Before he was 5, he was on a mite team. You know, he was playing mite A's, and he really, you know, it was a natural thing for him. He was just very good from the beginning.
It was just something that I think it was in me. The height was probably more of a self-conscious thing, and in a lot of ways it was good because you're treated a little bit differently because you can't get away with anything, and you kind of look older. So, you know, sometimes maybe more is expected, and that was awesome, I think, because, you know, hey, that's not fair. This kid was doing that too, and the teacher yells at you in class, but hey, it doesn't matter because you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like, hey, you learn a lesson. You're not going to get away with anything.
People always thought he was older than he was, or he shouldn't be playing with kids that were younger, which they weren't in most cases. They were just smaller. So it hurt him in that way.
It helped just because he was big. If somebody ran into him, they usually got the short end of the stick, but also because he was big, he couldn't use his size.
Artie was always pushing to get the most out of Brian's on-ice performance. Knowing the odds of a professional hockey career were slim to none, he always pushed Brian to excel in all other aspects of his life.
So, yeah, there was one time, and this is a funny story because of how it ended, but I got a bad grade in like middle school or something, and he and my mom had sat me down, and I was just like, he's like, what are You don't do your homework. All you do is play hockey. You think you're going to go to the NHL? I said, yeah, I'm going to the NHL. He's like, you're not. No one goes to the NHL. Doesn't happen. And I was like, I'll show you. And I stormed out of the room. And apparently he just looks at my mom and smiles, because she's looking at him like, are you kidding me? We spent all this money to do this and that and blah, 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 because you said there's something here with this kid. And then you told him that, and he goes, well, watch how he responds. And apparently I did my homework. And then, that drive never left me. I think he knew he could push that hard, but I never forgot I was on the green couch at our house on Olmsted Drive, which is a couple miles from here where we grew up. And I think it was, the way he did it and why he did it now make a lot of sense to me. I had to grow up a little bit, do more schoolwork, take care of that side of things, and that's how he was showing me, but he was dangling that carrot in front of me, like, you're not gonna get by on just this.
Some of us are not the same. Some of us see what everyone else is doing and think, let's do it better. That's why the new razor from Harry's is not the same. It has our sharpest blades ever. And unlike some other companies, we don't raise the price when we introduce something new. The new razor from Harry's. Harry's, not the same.
What's next for North Shore Hockey Academy?
As I mentioned earlier, we kind of hit it late in the year last year just to get the U18 Academy going. Next year, we're expanding to 14, 16, 18. And I've hired an awesome staff, to put it together for next year. So looking forward to working with them, and I'm excited about the future of the North Shore Hockey Academy.
Sports Etc. Everything for hockey and more.
If you're looking for the best selection of everything for hockey and more, then come to Sports Etc. in Arlington, Mass. Since 1980, the experts at Sports Etc. have been properly fitting hockey players from beginners to pros, with trusted brands at great prices. Let the pros at Sports Etc. get you skating in the right direction. Visit Sports Etc. today for all your hockey needs.
Inside the bubble with Duncan.
Whoa, wait, you can pull the goalie in here?
Nope, just went to get a Dunkin' cold brew.
Aren't you worried about an empty net?
Nah, I'm pretty cool. Plus the puck is in that spot no one can ever really get to, so.
Guys, I'm super annoyed right now.
Where there's hockey, there's Dunkin'. So grab a cold brew for game time. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'.
I'm at Sports Etc. here in Arlington, Massachusetts, and I'm with Paul Stanton. Good to see you, Paul.
Nice to see you, Joel.
Paul, we've talked about Bauer's 3D Skate Lab before, which is this unit in front of us,
yes,
but there are some
yes.
differences now.
Yes, they've changed the fit protocol on the machine now. Okay. So they've gotten away from when you scanned before, you'd get a vapor, become a vapor, it would come up Supreme or Nexus. Right. Now it's all about fit. So they have a fit 1, fit 2, and a fit 3.
Right. 3 different fits that you can utilize
right.
for those.
So
fits.
Truly the machine is a custom fit in terms of telling you what is best for your foot.
Got it. Okay. So tell me what happens. Somebody they step onto the machine and then what?
So they step on the machine, we can look at their arch, their ankle bones, their instep. It really gives you a 3D image of what their foot looks like, and from that we can really quickly surmise what's going to be the best foot. But the machine will also dictate that as well.
Okay, so it will tell you what the best fit might be.
Correct.
But the player has a personal preference.
Absolutely.
You combine the two.
Right.
That goes off to Bauer. They make the skate.
Correct.
You're good to go.
Correct.
All right, Paul, so he was a fit 1?
Yes.
And you chose a vapor.
Correct. So he had a very, very narrow foot, very low profile, so he had much more contact with the fit 1 in the vapor.
Yeah, what do you typically look for in a skate?
Well, I've always worn the vapor because I have more of a narrow foot, and as long as it fits tight and it's light too. So
that works for you?
Yeah.
Great. So for more information, come down here to Sports Etc. in Arlington. And for more information on the web, it's sportsetc.net.
My father got sick when I was a freshman, and he started losing weight. His skin was that gray, kind of just cancer-looking skin, really. He was. They couldn't figure out what it was. It took months, actually, I think. It seemed like months anyways.
I was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma, kidney cancer. I had to go through a major surgery, and I was out for most of his hockey for the freshman year. I mean, I saw very little.
When I found out, I was actually coming up from a doctor's appointment in Scituate. He was in Boston. We had waited months to get the diagnosis. He had been going to a doctor that was giving him the wrong medicine. When I did hear about it, I guess it was a shock. It's like someone, kicks you in the stomach. It was frightening for me because I had 5 kids, 10 and under.
And the whole time, he was just like, I'm gonna be fine, don't worry about it. I believed him. Fast forward a little bit, and into my sophomore year, he came back and it disappeared, and it's a miracle. It disappeared. He went on a pilgrimage to Medjugorje in Bosnia. He's been back there probably another 24 times since then, bringing sick people and bringing people that need something. He felt a very specific burning feeling in the spot where the nodules were.
So I was at the top of the mountain the last day we're leaving, and I asked Jesus to take me then. I was lying prostrate on the top of the mountain. I said, I'll never feel this peace again. It was a peace that I had never felt before. It was a peace of heaven, because all we were doing over there for 1 week was literally praying and going to Mass and adoration, and nothing, you're doing nothing except that.
He was very much convinced that something had happened. So he asked me to call the doctor and tell them that he wanted to be scanned again before he had the surgery, because when he came back from Medjugorje, he was scheduled to have the surgery. Artie went in, made an appointment to see the doctor, and when he went into the doctor's office, on the wall was a picture of St. James Church, which is in the center of Medjugorje. And he scanned him, and he said, you don't need the surgery.
So I got home from school, and my mom is in the office crying. He doesn't need the surgery. There's no surgery. So I'm like, is it that bad? Like, no, it's gone. It was the most amazing, I just witnessed a miracle. And fast forward a little farther, he starts doing a witness talk. He's committed his life to trying to help people now. And he tells the story, soup to nuts. And there were so many things that he didn't tell me when he was sick about how bad it was. How after he had his first surgery and then it came back, the depression that he had, how he thought he was dead, and he never let on to me.
I never knew. And we tried to keep it from them. Once I was okay, I was okay. So why deal with it?
I'm like, you didn't tell me any of this thing. He's like, I didn't want you to get upset. Actually, thanks, because I would have been a mess. And he knew what was on the line for me.
I did finally get to see a game. And I had this big puffy white coat on because the rinks are freezing, so I had to stay warm. And sure enough, doesn't a fight break out? Not only does the fight break out, it comes out into the stands. This is high school hockey, huh? But it ended up, from then on, it was wonderful watching.
They had these things called the red line report that would predict it like 2-3 years out. And I was, somewhere in the 60s or 70s, I think, when it was 2 years out. And I just kind of kept moving up, and it was getting exciting for me. And I said, how cool would that be to be a first-round pick? And so my senior year was we had a great year, we had a great team. We were advised to opt in after a good year. It was a pretty deep draft. We went down to Nashville. Yeah, like 3.5 hours after the draft started, I heard my name called in the first round with 30 people there.
After Brian was drafted, he went on to play for the LA Kings, New York Rangers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. In 2017, he signed with the New Jersey Devils, but before he could ever set foot on the ice in a Devils uniform, Brian began to notice that something wasn't quite right.
Some of us are not the same. Some of us see what everyone else is doing and think, let's do it better. That's why the new razor from Harry's is not the same. It has our sharpest blades ever. And unlike some other companies, we don't raise the price when we introduce something new. The new razor from Harry's. Harry's, not the same.
What's next for North Shore Hockey Academy?
As I mentioned earlier, we kind of hit it late in the year last year just to get the U18 Academy going. Next year we're expanding to 14, 16, 18. And I've hired an awesome staff, to put it together for next year. So looking forward to working with them, and I'm excited about the future of the North Shore Hockey Academy.
Sports Etc. Everything for hockey and more.
If you're looking for the best selection of everything for hockey and more, then come to Sports Etc. in Arlington, Mass. Since 1980, the experts at Sports Etc. have been properly fitting hockey players from beginners to pros, with trusted brands at great prices. Let the pros at Sports Etc. get you skating in the right direction. Visit Sports Etc. today for all your hockey needs.
Inside the bubble with Duncan.
Whoa, wait, you can pull the goalie in here?
Nope, just went to get a Dunkin' cold brew.
Aren't you worried about an empty net?
Nah, I'm pretty cool. Plus the puck is in that spot no one can ever really get to, so.
Guys, I'm like super annoyed right now.
Where there's hockey, there's Dunkin'. So grab a cold brew for game time. Order ahead plus earn rewards. America runs on Dunkin'.
All right, I'm back here with Brian Pothier from Pothier Blue Line Hockey. Good to see you, Brian.
Great to be here.
So today, we're going to talk about edge work. Obviously, one of the most important parts of the game is skating.
I think that is paramount. Nowadays, if you watch, everybody can skate. And no matter what skill set you have, if you can't arrive, you can't use it.
So what are we going to see today from the guys?
We're just going to work through a progression and get ourselves in good balance, some good forward extension, and making sure that we're getting up the ice with good balance and coordination.
Sticking to the basics, I like it.
That's it. This movement is difficult because we're going to be transitioning from our outside edge forward to our inside edge backwards, okay? Not the easiest thing on the planet. We have to make sure that we're disconnecting our midsection, staying fluid here, okay? We're gonna start on our outside edge and transition to our inside edge going backwards, okay? It's gonna look something like this. Again, the lower we are, the more fluid we are, the easier this becomes, okay? So we're here, we're low, push, and then we transition, open up here, push, transition, open up here, push, transition, okay?
So we got Greg Hill from the WEEI, the Greg Hill Show. We're talking about AJ Queda, and obviously for those people who have not heard about AJ's situation, and the community has really rallied around this kid. Senior at Bishop Fian, tragic accident, head first against the boards during a hockey game. I think it was in January, and it was against Pope Francis. I mean, what a tragedy. Spinal cord injuries are they're tricky. You never know how somebody's going to bounce back.
I've had the pleasure of having his dad on the show a couple times since that happened, and his dad calls him his best friend. It sounds to me like if there's anybody who can get better, it's AJ.
I've been involved in an event with the Greg Hill Foundation. Tell us a little bit about the foundation and how you guys are getting involved with AJ.
Foundation started 10 years ago, and we've been able to donate over $10 million to over 7,000 beneficiaries. That includes AJ. When I heard about this, we went on the air and asked the listeners to give, and they've given over $160,000 to that family. And now I can see you're wearing your shirt, and
yeah, man,
we're about to be able to give at least $15,000, hopefully $20,000, because of those who bought shirts.
Dude, I love the shirt too. You got the hockey
Not
logo
bad.
in here and everything.
So you can go to thegreghillfoundation.org if you just want to make a donation. 100% of what you give goes directly to AJ's family. They're currently at the Shepherd Center in Atlanta, and but we talk to them every week, and we send that money right to that family. And if you want to get a shirt, you can go to collegehype.com and get a shirt, and it'll be shipped right out to you.
Awesome. You guys are doing a great job. And I think one thing it's important to point out, you know, when these things happen, they're top of mind, but sometimes out of sight, out of mind. And we got to keep this kid and his family top of mind. You guys are doing a phenomenal job doing that. So let's keep it going.
If there's any community that will hold him close and keep him going, it's the hockey community. So thanks for having me on to talk about it.
Either I was playing too much golf and I was dehydrated, which, you know, not playing that. I'm on a cart. I'm not walking. Or Lyme disease was going around. I'm like, I got Lyme disease. Something's wrong with me. But whatever, I'll figure it out.
I just thought, we have a newborn baby. She's 2.5 months old. Of course he's tired. I mean, I was exhausted too.
So I'd wake up in the morning and I'd feel fine. And then by noon I was like, I have to take a nap. And I'd sleep for 3 hours. And then at 10 o'clock at night, I would be so exhausted I'd have to go right to sleep. Now Bella was a couple months old and Declan was 2. It was brutal. And then the day before camp, we had an informal skate down in Jersey. And I was on the ice for like 28 minutes. I couldn't catch a pass. It was starting to affect my coordination. And everything was just off, and they're just, the strength and conditioning guys were just looking at me like, okay, thinking probably I wasn't training that hard or whatever. And it was driving me crazy. And then I got the tap on the shoulder, hey, we need to go to the hospital. We got to do some more tests. Some irregularities came back with your blood work. So then I'm like, oh, is it Lyme disease? Is it Lyme disease? He's like, well, let's just go get some more tests.
Then they called him and said, you know, it's not Lyme disease. Something's really wrong with your white blood cell count.
So I got in touch with the doctor, the head guy in Jersey, Dr. Farber, and he was telling me what it was probably going to be. He said, this looks like a leukemia of some sort. I was like, what?
You know, you get to this point, you get to this dream, you get kids now, all of a sudden, you do a blood test in training camp, and they say, Brian, we need to test your blood again. And it turns out to be leukemia.
Telling my parents, the doctors think I have leukemia, and I just couldn't, it was really hard for me just to even say it, because I didn't want them to worry, and I didn't want them to have to hurt at all, because I just know what it's like now to be a dad.
There was never, I'm not feeling well. I'm sure he wasn't feeling well, but he never spoke of it. He was so strong that we were strong. And my husband became like a mentor for him because he had gone through it. And Brian knew how strong my husband was during the time he went through it. So Brian had someone to look to and to hope that this is going to be behind me also.
Chronic myeloid leukemia was one that I was hoping for, believe it or not. At that point, when you know you have leukemia, you want that one, I guess. But just the treatment and the prognosis was a lot better. So that's what it turned out to be. It went from, okay, you'll be okay, it might suck a little bit, to, okay, I'm playing and I want to be ready for opening night.
After his diagnosis and treatments during the fall of 2017, Brian was getting ready to return to the ice from his battle with cancer. And then out of nowhere, the most difficult challenge of his life emerged.
You know, my wife thinks he had fallen at some point. I remember very specifically in the bathtub, he had something on his face and I just rubbed it like this. You know, a little firm, but nothing that would make him cry like he did. And he went off the rails for a good 10 minutes.
My dad's an oral surgeon. And so we asked him, we said, Dad, you know, what's going on? Does this look normal? And my dad said, you know what? I just really miss you guys. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to come up and see you. And when he got to the door, he dropped his carry-on when he saw Declan because he thought it was a sarcoma, the mandible. So I knew something was wrong when I saw my dad's face. So I went from busy with a newborn and trying to help my husband to something might be really wrong with my son.
Dana Farber crew came over and they said, we want to talk to you for about the next 6 months of what Declan and his treatments and what's going to happen here. I said, do you think this is Ewing sarcoma? And they said, yeah. I think it's a AVM. So I said, well, that's what it is. So you guys can come back or not, but I can't do this with you guys.
They wanted us to stay in the hospital to start his drip in the morning. And at 5:50 in the morning, our doctor from Plastics and Oral Max came in and said, I don't have any other way to explain this other than, I mean, someone's on your side, because there's a 0.001% chance this could be something else, and it's called an AVM. And it's still going to be a really hard road, but it's a way different outcome than this.
This is not cancer. It's an AVM. And me and this man who I just met, who's, this Dr. Afshar, who's an angel sent from heaven, I think, embraced in this crazy hug after I hugged my wife, and everybody's crying. After his very first surgery, that was my first goal with the Devils. And there's a reaction like I've never had, but I thought he was watching, and a lot of people thought it was because of my diagnosis, and it had nothing to do with that. Once he was sick, it was over. Like, I was fine. I took care of myself like I had to because, I want to be around, but this kid, what he had to go through, and I put that one in. I couldn't believe it. It was the coolest thing I've done on the ice in the NHL ever. I think it might have been our next game or after that. Then the Hockey Fights Cancer night, I scored a goal on this kid, Will Butcher, is a rookie, makes this ridiculous play and just no look finds me wide open net, and I'm just like, this is crazy storybook stuff. Stuff that just like, I was just skating down the wing on a power play, and there it is. Like, Butcher with one of the greatest plays he's made in his career. Fantastic play. It was just it was cool to get the messages of people that were fighting and struggling and going through things, whether it was them or their kid or their parent, whomever, because I could relate to all of that.
I'm so thankful for medicine and all the prayers from Brian's fans to friends and our family, but I really learned to not let a lot bother me because after that, it just doesn't matter. Like, health and your family and your kids, absolutely everything.
It was never easy. When we thought we were out of the woods, we were right back in the middle of the forest at night, and we found our way out, though. It was, and he's doing great. He's doing great now. It's been a wild ride.
Brian's life has been about faith, perseverance, hard work, and defying the odds. He has watched his father overcome a 5% chance of survival. He's watched his son battle one of the rarest diseases in the world, and as for Brian, he has beaten cancer himself, while accomplishing the least likely thing of all, playing 13 years in the NHL. He still works hard in the gym and on the ice every day in the hope that when the postseason rolls around, he gets that chance to finally lift the Stanley Cup.